All right, here we are. I don't know what we had there. Welcome back, everybody. Bourbon and Blush. We're doing samples M and N tonight from the Masshole blind, and there's only one more after this, so we figured we'd do two tonight and finish off on O.
Grand finale.
Do a little grand finale. So we'll get started with this.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm excited about the last three samples. Think he's gonna finish strong.
I think so. Knowing the Masshole, I think he'll finish strong.
I will say,
A little lighter than
it's
normal.
a little lighter than normal, which doesn't, whatever necessarily mean a whole lot, but it is a little bit lighter than some of the ones that we've done previously. It's a very sweet on the nose.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm intrigued.
I feel like citrusy has been my go-to nose, but
it is.
It's very citrusy.
Oh, I'm excited about this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it smells familiar. I'm not quite sure what that is.
That's really good.
It was like, for me, you said citrusy, but I got a lot of apple notes.
Yeah, like a crisp. It's very crisp.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
And that first sip was it was a little hotter than I anticipated it was going to be.
It drinks a little hotter than the nose. However, I feel like the second sip is going to be very palatable. Not have a lot of hug at all to it.
It's crisp on the palate too.
It is, and the finish is
very light. Has a little bit of a bite in the back.
Very little, very little bite. The finish for me is light, but it's very much like the palate, which is not always what you have. A lot of times, the finish is a lot different or oaky or something like that. This is just like the flavor just lingers. That palate just lingers for a long time.
Yeah, it's very good. It has a long finish for sure.
Fantastic.
I think I'm gonna save a little bit in my cup so I can do a side by side with M. I've been trying to do that.
Do you think it might be wheated?
It is very sweet.
It's very sweet, unless.
It is.
I think it's wheated unless it's some sort of finished, like if it's a rum finish or.
Interesting.
It's got a little bit of that sweetness to it.
I could see that. Now that you say that, I could 100% see.
It's got those caramely rum notes that you get. I mean, I don't know that I'm 100% on that.
I am not mad.
But if it's not wheated, then I would think it's a finish.
I'm gonna go ahead. I'm intrigued. I want to go ahead and pour N so I can do a side by side.
I think N has a little more color to it.
It does have a little bit more color.
About the same level, so we can see. Oh, not
a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit more. Get it in there. Oh, this was M. This is N.
A little bit darker in color. Do you want to explain why it's darker in color sometimes to our 4 fans that we have watching the show?
I mean, I guess there's a lot of reasons it can be darker in color, but normally it falls with age. The longer it sits in the barrel, usually the darker it gets.
From the char inside of the barrels?
Yeah, but that doesn't always mean age because the char could be heavier in the barrel. So sometimes you get a nice dark bourbon and it isn't good. I mean, or isn't aged or it's younger. But that is a telltale sign. A lot of bourbon people will look at that.
That is so different. That is fantastic. That is peanut.
Okay. I don't have peanut on the nose.
No. Take a sip of it. I have vanilla caramel on the nose. It's very light. I did not expect that. that is like a Jim Beam or Heaven Hill product.
Wow.
Very good.
Peanut,
like
peanut,
roasted,
yeah.
Straight out of the oven, roasted peanut, whatever that is.
100%. Which is normally a Jim Beam product.
Or Heaven Hill.
I get a nutty on a Heaven Hill, but not
roasted peanut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this is
but the nose is super light.
It is.
And it's like vanilla and caramels. I don't get any of those peanut or nut notes.
Peanut or nut on the nose. You get the standard
and sweet.
Yeah, it is a sweeter nose. You get the standard
maybe like a corn, like a sweet corn almost.
Mm-hmm. So I think
it's got a little bit.
This is my guess on this one. I'm going early on a guess, and I'm gonna say that this is a Little Book.
Oh.
Just because it's got your standard bourbon notes. The palate is bourbon. You get the oak and the vanillas and the caramels, but that peanut finish that you get from Jim Beam, and it doesn't strike me as a Knob Creek or a Jim Beam direct product.
It definitely would be off profile for a Knob
Creek. Yeah, it doesn't get me as a Knob Creek. You do get that peanut on a lot of those, but those Little Books are usually a blend of Jim Beam products. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what this is. I think this is going to be a Little Book, and it's a blend of Jim Beam products, and they always normally are very good. They're normally worth their value. They're normally worth the price, which is usually around $120.
$94 for Bookers.
Yeah.
The Little
Book's around $120, $130.
A little bit higher. Yeah, you're
right.
They
normally are worth it, in my opinion.
Can't always find them, although you did find one recently.
Yeah, that panned out well for a handful of people.
So good. But I'm gonna switch back to M real quick, just to see if it like opened up or changed at all for me while I had it in my glass after sipping that. With that heavy peanut, that is a huge flavor jump.
The nose is much different as well. It's still very crisp, but not as citrusy as it was.
I get a lot of. It's like if you're like baking an apple crisp, like
maybe a little cinnamon, that buttery.
Butter, yes, that crisp apple and the butter and the sugar is what I get on that.
It's still really good.
Very, very good. Very, very sweet. I can get on board with the rum blend.
So I would have thought that this was somewhere in the 104, maybe 112 in that range, 104, 107, maybe even if you want to get it down. This is definitely a higher proof. I don't think it drank as hot on the first as far as the hug. But bouncing back to that has nothing going on as far as any type of hug or even proof on the palate. So I think this is probably, I believe those Little Books are usually around. Little Book 3 was a blend of all.
They're under 110.
No, I think they're higher. I think the Little Book 3, I think was all barrel proofs. It's like a barrel proof Beam or Knob Creek, a barrel proof, Basil. But it was a handful of 3 or 4 of their things that were all, I thought, barrel proof. So, I mean, if that's the case, that would put this around 120. Usually that's what the Knob Creeks are, even at their single barrel. And some of the others fall short. So I think, you'd be at 120, you drop down a little bit. So I'm going to stick with that Little Book. It's stuck in my head, and I'm not going to, unfortunately, be able to come off of it. That's how my brain works. So
I'm not quite as good as guessing, but I definitely can get on board with it being a Jim Beam product for sure.
Yeah. If it's some sort of Knob Creek pick or something, it's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say it's probably in the 12-year range at the 120 proof. If it's a Knob Creek.
I could get with this being around 120 proof too. It does have that little bit of a hug, especially coming after the first sample, which I'm going to say around 102 to 104. I know you guessed a little bit higher, but that drank a little bit lighter for me. But I could see this being around 115, 120. Great. I loved it.
Yeah, I do get, as much as I don't think that's a finished whiskey, there's a lot of rum traits to it that I think would make sense. If you told me it was a finished rum finished whiskey, I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm gonna put it. I'm putting for M on my tasting notes, like apple crisp, butter, definitely sweet. I don't know that I necessarily have a guess for whiskey. I'm gonna say 102 to 104 proof. And I'm gonna give it a 90, 95. Yeah. I really liked it. They were two great pours, two completely different flavor profiles. So it would really depend on what your preference is as far as like palate goes. But if you like a crisp, sweeter whiskey that doesn't have that hug, I'm so curious to see on Barn Night when he does these reveals,
right?
What we've actually
right. Hopefully, he said maybe the first week of October. Puts us 3 weeks out. So if I would say first or second week of October, that'll happen.
Yeah.
He'll be live on barnight.com with Clint and Dustin and Troy and I, and Laura will be there as well, obviously. And anyone else who has participated in this is going to be welcome to jump on and to the chat, and I'm sure we'll be throwing them up on there and getting people's guesses out and
participated and not, right? We can have
absolutely.
Guests on
I mean,
Barn
everybody's
Night
welcome
watching.
to come and see how horrible we are at this. I think it'll be a good time. You're gonna do N quick.
Yeah, I do.
So while she does N, I also gave it a 95. I have citrus and apple and butter on the nose, and then I don't have a guess, but I did, put the question mark there for maybe a possible rum finish or a weeded bourbon.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't think I was sold, even though rum finish was my idea. However, now that it's there, I can definitely, follow those tasting notes that you get from a rum, that heavy caramel and that sweet, that molasses and things like that you get on a decent rum. And again, I said 104 to like 110, 112.
So we will be back on for our grand finale for O, which is our the big O. And that is our last blind sample, and I'm sad about that. I feel like we need to maybe do a little bit more of this. We had a good time. We had that mishap with A where we lost our video.
Right.
However, we've taped every single one
after that. Yep.
After that.
And we've enjoyed it, and we're excited to move on to our next thing. I think we're going to do some samples and things for people that are readily available, and start tying the bourbon and blush end of this in. We were actually out today and met some new people here in our area that are doing some great things with barbecue. And I think we're going to try to get them involved as well and get them into the bourbon world. They're bourbon fans already.
Bourbon enthusiasts.
Yeah. So we're going to turn them into bourbon addicts, I guess, is what's going to happen. It's not a problem if you're just collecting. That's what they say.
Is that what you said?
So that's what I say. So again, I'm gonna stick with my little book. I think this is around. I think this is around 115 to 120. I think it's a Jim Beam product, and I don't get anything directly into one of their lines for me personally. So I'm going with a little book. I know that the last one was a blend of. It's always a blend of Jim Beam products. The last one was barrel proof, so that's little book 3.
After this live, I'm going to finish both of my samples, which I only poured half of. I very much enjoyed them.
That's probably the only guess I've made for like an actual bourbon or brand specifically. I think that's little book 3.
Okay.
So we'll see. I think the only other one we did was that we thought that orange curacao one.
That one was good.
Yeah, everyone that's done it after us doesn't taste that at all. So I'm pretty sure we're wrong.
Interesting.
But stay tuned, guys. Some big things coming from Bourbon and Blush, and
some new adventures.
Yeah, keep following us on Facebook. If you're not, follow us on Facebook, and we will see you soon for sample O, our final sample of the Masshole blind. So
saving the big O for last.
I guess I'll drink first then. Bye, guys.
Bye.